Feel free to return to our channel at any time. Pink Floyd's most rebellious composer, Roger Waters, is sitting down to discuss the less positive aspects of his time with the band. This time, though, he is not the center of attention. David Gilmour, the band's guitar wizard and the man whose voice graces countless classic songs, is instead the focus. In an interview published today, Waters discusses the emotional and professional issues that he believes contributed to Gilmour's fears and jealousies, as well as the breakup of their partnership and its effects outside of Pink Floyd. Even before it became a media darling, Waters and Gilmour's animosity was building. The creative dynamic between them was intricate. While Gilmour's guitar skills brought those stories their soul-stirring resonance, Waters was the imaginative lyricist, spinning dark, contemplative tales. Their union started to fall apart in the 1970s as Pink Floyd's success surged due to ego clashes and competing agendas. The fissures became apparent while 1979's The Wall was being recorded. While Gilmour was busy trying to find a way to get his voice heard, Waters grabbed the reins and started running the show. As a result, everyone was on edge and every choice felt like a fight. Gilmour despised Waters' dictatorial style, and Waters perceived Gilmour's hesitation to accept his vision as an indication of his lack of dedication. They were scarcely communicating when 1983 rolled around, and the final cut was unveiled. It was more than simply music that infuriated Gilmour. It was deeply personal. Subtle, savage ways, changes to solos, last-minute alterations to arrangements, and an ever-present tension made collaboration practically impossible. He supposedly felt dwarfed by Waters' towering presence in the band. According to Waters, Gilmour's jealousy extended beyond their time together in the band. Gilmour appeared adamant about demonstrating that Pink Floyd could succeed post-Waters' 1985 departure. The Division Bell and A Momentary Lapse of Reason are two albums that really highlighted Gilmour's genius with melody. On the other hand, they were criticized for not having the same level of complexity and intellectual rigor as the band's previous albums. This meant the world to Waters. It proved that Pink Floyd couldn't have shined without his gloomy, analytical touch. Imagine how disheartening it would be to be treated like second-class citizens despite your status as a guitar legend. Following the Waters incident, Gilmour's he used Pink Floyd as a means of claiming his legacy, but their animosity cast a long shadow. With every triumph tinged with the silent doubt, could it ever compare to the collective brilliance of the band? Gilmour's story takes on an extra dramatic dimension due to his troubled past with Syd Barrett, the original lead singer of Pink Floyd. In 1968, the band parted company with Barrett because of his struggles with mental health and substance abuse. Gilmour was then brought in to fill the hole, although the change was not without its bumps. Reportedly, Barrett, who was already on a downward spiral, regarded Gilmour as a rescuer and an encroachment, someone who was attempting to save the band from certain doom. Their friendship remained difficult even after Gilmour expressed regret over Barrett's treatment years later. Barrett's decline into seclusion and death in 2006 left Gilmour to face the shame of what may have been done differently, casting a long shadow over him. Outside of Pink Floyd's ethereal realm, David Gilmour's reputation for exactitude and unfaltering dedication to excellence frequently collided with his colleagues' inventive rhythms. When Gilmour and Ringo Starr met paths in the late 1918s, it was one such encounter. What started out as a peaceful partnership between two iconic characters soon became a creative war ground, revealing the extreme differences in their character and approach to art. Think about this. Ringo Starr, the Beatles' famously easygoing and comfortable drummer, who is also famous for his innate musicality and sense of humor, enters a studio anticipating a similarly unstructured and carefree creative atmosphere. David Gilmour, who stands across from you, is an extremely methodical and perfectionist man who hardly allowed himself any opportunity for spontaneity. An intriguing collaboration between two rock stalwarts quickly turned into a stalemate due to their diametrically opposed musical tastes. When it came to the project, Gilmour was completely fixated. It was essential that each note and arrangement be painstakingly crafted, refined, and executed to perfection. To him, music was an art form that required self-restraint. In contrast, Starr personified improvisational vigor, augmenting the table with an inherent, uncontrolled vitality. However, Gilmour perceived this laid-back attitude as almost reckless. Every practice session devolved into an ego showdown, while Starr argued in favor of improvisation and Gilmour for refinement. Tensions were rising during the recording sessions. Gilmour's obsession with accuracy made Starr feel restricted and overly controlled. Starr believed that the collaborative atmosphere that Gilmour cherished was irreconcilable with his demanding standards. Turning the tables on Starr, Gilmour found his carefree attitude repugnant and felt it clashed with his own strict work ethic. The arguments escalated to a normal level as both men refused to back down from their respective visions. Their conflicts intensified, leading to the breakdown of their collaboration. Instead of fueling something remarkable, the creative friction drove a rift between them. When the project fell through, both men were disappointed. It was supposedly so painful for Starr because of Gilmour's inflexibility that she decided to leave. But for Gilmour, it was just another reminder of how difficult it was to work outside of his safe, regulated setting. Their feud didn't become public knowledge, yet it nevertheless had an effect. For Gilmour, it highlighted the difficulties of leaving the comfort zone of Pink Floyd, where his obsession with perfection was tolerated and appreciated. It was very different from the magical teamwork he had encountered with the Beatles, a sobering reminder that concord is far from assured, especially among legendary figures. An even darker side of Gilmour was exposed during the confrontation with Starr. There was no way around his unwavering character and his musical genius. He became an expert in his field as a result, but he cut ties with others who couldn't meet his high standards. Ultimately, the collaboration's demise demonstrated the intricacies of genius and the inherent human difficulties from which not even icons are immune. David Gilmour seldom let the audience in on the reality of his personal life, which was in turmoil beneath the surface of the spotlight and soaring guitar solos. Under the strain of his demanding profession, his first marriage to Virginia Hazenbein, which started off with optimism and promise, gradually fell apart. Think about it. Gilmour spent endless nights in the studio working on an elaborate album, all the while his wife and small children waited at home. Sense of loss caused by his departure. The price that Gilmour paid for his inflexible commitment to artistic purity was excruciating. A toll was taken by the never-ending cycle of recording and touring. Unfortunately, Virginia was left to raise their family on her alone while the rest of the world reveled in Pink Floyd's victories. With each sold-out show and late-night recording session, the gulf in their relationship became wider. Gilmour's prominence as a musician overshadowed his responsibilities as a husband and father, putting a noticeable strain on their marriage. The constant demands of celebrity, along with feelings of bitterness and unfulfilled expectations, made arguments an inevitable part of their relationship. It was a mixed bag for the Gilmour kids growing up. There was, on the one hand, their respected and enduring father whose music had touched the lives of many people. On the flip side, they had to deal with the emotional and physical absences that come with being a man's children. As they watch their father play for a crowd of devoted admirers, they can't help but feel a mix of pride and desire, knowing that he may not be able to witness another significant moment in their lives. A watershed moment came with Gilmour's marriage breaking down in the late 1918s. A romance was over, but that wasn't the only thing that ended. The dissolution of his family compelled the man whose life's work had revolved around the quest of artistic excellence to face the costs of his journey. In the solitude that followed the divorce, he was able to dwell on the past and find an answer to the question that had troubled him for so long. Were the rewards worth the sacrifices? The wounds from Gilmour's previous marriage continued to fester even after he remarried and found peace and security with Polly Sampson. They served as a sobering reminder of how precarious equilibrium is, how narrow the gap is between recklessness and carelessness. He tried to start over with his family and his job, but he couldn't shake the weight of his previous failures. Although Gilmour's private troubles were common among rock musicians, they highlighted the difference between his public and private selves. Fans perceived an artist who was calm and thoughtful, whose music flowed easily, while his loved ones saw a guy who was struggling to cope with the fallout of his decisions. His life serves as a moving reminder that juggling one's public and private life can be difficult for anyone, even famous people. The legacy of Gilmour is a tribute to his humanity and brilliance, especially in light of the fact that Waters' revelations have revived the long-running argument about Pink Floyd's tumultuous past. Despite the fact that his guitar playing has touched millions of people, he has endured strife, jealousy, and expectations that few could ever meet. It is a story of genius with a dash of conflict that Gilmour tells, what with his conflicts with Waters, Barrett, and Starr. It's a sign that even the most famous musicians are just like the rest of us, deeply flawed, full of hopes and dreams, but also burdened by the weight of real life. Even while the music industry considers Waters' remarks, one thing is clear. Much like the music that David Gilmour was a part of making, his life narrative will enthrall, motivate, and dispute people for years to come.